Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Ich warte seit Wochen auf diesen Tag und tanz vor Freude über den Asphalt. Als wär's ein Rhythmus, als gäb's ein Lied, das mich immer weiter durch die Straßen zieht. Komm dir entgegen.
Hello and welcome to Gegenpressing, the Bundesliga podcast. I'm Manu, he's Stefan Bienkowski. And Stefan, how's it going?
Yeah, very well. We're in the midst of the Champions League football right now. We're recorded in between the Union and Bayern games. Heartbreak again for Union, it would seem. We'll talk about all these games, of course, on the reaction show. But yeah, it's one of those weeks where we're just trying to cram everything in any little nook and cranny that we can find in the schedule.
It's a busy week too of traveling. Literally just came overboard from Seattle, and then I'm heading back to Vancouver tomorrow to cover the Whitecaps St. Louis game there. So it's a little crazy. And then I think next week we're off because of the international break, going for a holiday in Montreal. Do you have anything planned for the international break? I know that's always a little bit quieter, so it's a good time to take some time off.
No, nothing I can think of. No, nothing booked. I conveniently booked my last holiday during the deadline day, as you'll remember. So I'm not smart enough to preempt these things by booking them on the quieter moments of the season.
So before we go into the transfer show, my wife downloads the international football calendar and then says, oh, there's an international break here, there's an international break here, there's an international break here, and this international break also coincides, in this case, next week with Canadian Thanksgiving, so that's a good one to go on a week-long holiday.
Yeah, well, she's far more organised than I am, that's for sure.
Because she knows more about international football at this stage than I do. But I guess that's the life of a football reporter's wife. But they need to deal with all crazy schedules. Anyways, enough of that. We have transfers to talk, or transfer stories, or, well, I guess some of them are not player transfers, but still transfers. Let's start with the Max Eberl stuff, Stefan, because I think that's still really interesting. I, of course, wrote my newsletter on it on Friday. We purposefully did not talk about it in the main show because this podcast, I think this particular episode is a much better fit for it, right? To discuss it more in detail. And I think we all were very surprised that Leipzig, and I think it was actually very consequential what they did. The way they acted and the way they executed it really quickly by basically saying like, okay, enough is enough. You've been linked to Bayern Munich often enough now. You have not committed to this club. On top of that, you have met with Bayern Munich executives. We don't know what you talked to them about. Either you're going to tell us that you are fully committed to this club, and if this full commitment doesn't satisfy us, here's the door. And ultimately, they showed him the door. I actually, I think I've talked to some people, and again, it's all in the piece that I wrote, and there is a really strong understanding now that the move to Bayern Munich will happen. How quick it will happen is another question, because even Bayern Munich were surprised by Leipzig's decision and how quickly they executed it. But it does look like, that Eberl is basically coming in as director of sport or board member of sport, replacing Hasan Salihamidzic, but he will take a lot of the powers that Oliver Kahn had as well. When this will happen depends on how quickly Bayern can come to a deal with Leipzig, or whether Eberl wants to move on to the job. I mean, he already lives in Munich, Stefan. But you know what? I want to stress this, and I think this is really important, and I don't know if I did a good enough job about it in the piece that I wrote, but I kind of applaud Leipzig what they've done here, because they were like, we're not a stepping stone club for Bayern Munich. If you're just here and, enhancing your profiles until the day that they come calling you and offer you a job, that's not us. Like, either you're here or you're not. And I think, the quickness that they did it, and also that they did it just before playing Bayern Munich, ripping off the Band-Aid. I think I almost felt like that's really good management. And I think you really have to applaud Leipzig that what they did here. They said, like, enough is enough. You're gone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's exactly what you would kind of hope from if you're a Leipzig fan. There's kind of no middle ground with this one. And, as you've reported, and I would really implore anyone who's obviously listening to the show and has a subscription, if they missed out on Friday night, really do go check out, because it's a really great read, and it does a great job of explaining what happened. And it does kind of feel like it was almost like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I must admit, there's something, I don't know if, I'm trying to think of the right word for it, but I wouldn't go as far as say something. It's not that something isn't right, but it's just something quite confusing about the direction that Max Eberl's career has taken since he left Gladbach, and arguably even maybe a year or two before he left Gladbach, and the manner in which kind of things fell apart there. And he obviously leaves Gladbach under a kind of cloud of, I don't really want to go so far as to say drama or anything like that, but obviously...
I spoke to some people. I know what happened at Gladbach. It's a lot of allegedly and supposedly, but it was drama. It's not something that I want to get into here, but it was very messy, to say the least. And I do think that did hurt his career in some ways, because also the way he's seen within the business.
Thank you for listening to Believe. You can show support to your host by subscribing to the show and giving us a 5-star rating on your preferred platform. Check us out at Believe.com and search for BLEAV on YouTube.